Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Ed Gein's cauldron. Ed Gein's cauldron is a cast iron pot that was found on the property of the infamous serial killer Ed Gein. Gein was known for his gruesome crimes in the 1950s, and when police searched his property, they discovered not only the remains of his victims, but also various macabre artifacts made from human bones and skin. Among these items was the cauldron, which Gein allegedly used to hold body parts during his gruesome acts. After Gein's arrest, the cauldron was kept as evidence for several years before being returned to his family. However, it is said that the cauldron is cursed and has brought misfortune to anyone who has possessed it. According to legend, a man who bought the cauldron in the 1960s met a very quick and horrible demise shortly afterward, and another owner reportedly suffered from a series of tragic accidents. Today, the cauldron's whereabouts are unknown, and it remains a mysterious and haunting artifact associated with one of America's most notorious criminals. In our number 9 spot today, we have John Murrell's thumb. John Murrell's thumb is a small, shriveled digit that is believed to have belonged to John Murrell, a notorious American criminal who lived during the 19th century. The digit is said to possess a powerful curse and is associated with various tales of hauntings and misfortune. One of the most popular legends surrounding the thumb is that it is cursed to bring bad luck to anyone who possesses it. According to the legend, the thumb was cut off from Murrell's body after his execution and passed down through a series of owners who all experienced misfortune and tragedy. It is said that the thumb would cause accidents, sickness, and even death to those who kept it in their possession. Another tale tells of a man who came into possession of the thumb and began experiencing strange occurrences, such as objects moving on their own and eerie whispers in the night. The man eventually became so terrified that he buried the thumb in a field, but it is said that the haunting continued even afterwards. Despite its ominous reputation, John Murrell's thumb has been sought after by collectors and paranormal enthusiasts over the years. Some even believe that the thumb possesses a sort of supernatural power that can be harnessed for personal gain. However, most people are content to leave the thumb where it belongs and avoid any potential consequences of disturbing its resting place. In our number 8 spot today, we have Old Nick. Old Nick, also known as the Swansea Devil, is a legendary figure that dates back to the 1890s and currently resides in the Swansea Museum. During that time, the prestigious St. Mary's Church, located in the town's centre, was undergoing renovations, and when a local builder was turned down for the job, he sought revenge. He purchased a row of cottages adjacent to the church, demolished them, and built large brick offices, topping them with a carving of Old Nick. According to legend, he placed a curse on the church himself, declaring that this devil would remain laughing after its destruction. Years later, during World War II, the town was heavily bombed and St. Mary's, along with most of the town, was destroyed. However, the office building with Old Nick remained undamaged. After the war, Old Nick disappeared, but later resurfaced, prompting a petition to return him to his former spot, and also a counter-petition to keep him far away from the rebuilt church. Currently, Old Nick resides behind glass in the Swansea Museum, and it is said that the glass enclosure is for the protection of visitors. In our number 7 spot today, we have Charles Manson's TV. There are many haunting tales surrounding this TV, and honestly, that makes a lot of sense considering its history, as it was the one that was present in the Spawn Ranch where Manson and his followers resided for a period of time. This ranch was a former movie ranch that had fallen into disrepair and was used as a hideout by the Manson family. It was during their time at the ranch that they planned and carried out their atrocious crimes. The TV was present in the living quarters at the ranch and was said to have played a significant role in Manson's ability to manipulate and control his followers. Manson would often use the TV as a tool to brainwash and indoctrinate his followers with apocalyptic visions and very harmful ideologies. The TV was seized as evidence by the police following the arrest of the Manson family members and has since been sold at auction. The exact whereabouts of the TV at this point in time are unknown, but many have said that the TV is cursed by the evil energy that Manson himself held. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Atlantis Ring. The Atlantis Ring is a clay ring discovered in 1860 in an Egyptian high priest's tomb in the Valley of Kings. Howard Carter acquired the ring and kept it until his his death in 1939. The ring is believed to be over 5,000 years old and is decorated with very unique geometric symbols not seen before in Egyptian culture. What makes this story so intriguing is that Carter, who discovered King Tut's tomb, claimed to have worn the ring as a talisman during the tomb's opening, which protected him from the curse. Unlike other members of his team, he did not die a mysterious death afterward. Instead, he attributed his protection to the ring's power. So I guess the ring is kind of like an anti-cursed object due to its association with the protection of Howard Carter. Although replicas are available, none are believed to possess the power of the original Atlantis ring. In our number 5 spot today, we have Bela Lugosi's mirror. Bela Lugosi, the actor who famously portrayed Dracula on screen, owned a mirror that is said to be cursed. According to legend, the mirror was given to Lugosi by a fan who claimed that it was possessed by the spirit of a dead woman. Lugosi allegedly experienced strange occurrences after acquiring the mirror, including seeing the reflection of the woman's face in the glass. He tried to get rid of the mirror, but it reportedly kept returning to him. After his death, the mirror passed through the hands of several owners who also reported strange phenomena associated with it, such as cold spots and apparitions. Some even claimed to have seen Lugosi's face staring back at them from the mirror. Today, the whereabouts of the mirror are unknown, and it remains one of the most mysterious and haunted objects in Hollywood history. In our number 4 spot today, we have Uluru Rock. Uluru Rock is a massive sandstone formation located in the southern part of the Northern Territory in Australia. It is a sacred site for the indigenous people of the area, and it is known as Ayers Rock. Visitors are advised not to take anything from the site as it is considered disrespectful and can bring bad karma. However, some people still choose to smuggle pieces of rock out of the area. This act has reportedly resulted in severe consequences, including bad luck, illness, and even the death of loved ones. The curse associated with these stolen rocks is so strong that it is common for the company that manages the tours of the formation to receive letters of apology with the returned rocks. This phenomenon happens so often that the company expects to receive at least one letter a day. While some may dismiss this as a mere coincidence, the frequency and consistency of these occurrences suggest otherwise. In our number 3 spot today, we have Natalie Wood's yacht. The haunting tales surrounding Natalie Wood's yacht, named the Splendor, have been the subject of speculation and controversy for decades. In November 1981, the actress was on a weekend trip aboard the yacht with her husband Robert Wagner and friend Christopher Walken. The circumstances surrounding her death have remained a mystery, but it is known that Wood drowned in the water near the yacht and her body was found the next morning. The yacht itself has been the subject of strange occurrences and haunting tales ever since. According to reports, strange noises and unexplained occurrences have been observed on board the yacht. Witnesses have reported hearing unexplained voices and footsteps, as well as doors opening and closing on their own. Some have even claimed to have seen the ghostly apparition of Natalie Wood herself, still wearing the same clothing she had on the night of her death. Despite the rumors and tales, there is no concrete evidence to support the idea that the yacht is actually haunted. However, the tragic circumstances surrounding Natalie Wood's death and the mysterious events that have been reported on the yacht have contributed to its reputation as a haunted vessel. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Screaming Skull. The Screaming Skull is housed in Burton Agnes Hall in England and is believed to have belonged to Catherine Anne Griffith. Catherine was the youngest in her family and enjoyed wandering the property, but on one such walk she was attacked and robbed by a group of individuals who left her severely injured. Despite being brought back to the hall, Catherine passed away a few days later. Before her death, she requested that her family remove her head and keep her skull so that they would always have a piece of her with them. Following her burial, the family experienced strange occurrences in the house, including bumps, moans, and screams. It was then said that they decided to fulfill Catherine's request and the strange happenings stopped. However, when a maid found the skull and threw it out of a nearby window, which is a strange thing to do when you find a skull, the strange occurrences began again. Eventually, the family decided to place the skull in a secret spot within the walls of the house so that Anne's spirit could rest in peace. The story serves as a reminder to honor the wishes of those who have passed to avoid any lingering spiritual activity. In our number 1 spot today, we have the Dark Mirror, finishing this list off with another cursed mirror. This one is now a part of the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and Occult, and that in itself is enough to understand why it is considered to be a cursed object. The museum acquired the mirror from its previous owner, who had bought it from a psychic fair. Despite being created sometime around the 1820s or 1830s, the mirror still boasts a beautiful appearance, but it is believed to hold some dark secrets. The former owner reported that every time they looked into the mirror, they saw disturbing images that left them feeling very unsettled. Since joining the museum's collection, guests have also reported similar experiences, seeing reflections of their own dead bodies and other unsettling apparitions.
Coming up at our number 10 spot, we have the Myrtles Plantation Mirror. Myrtles Plantation is a place in St. Francisville, Louisiana, that is known for being extremely haunted. There are so many ghost sightings and photographs, and in particular, there is a mirror where people tend to see ghosts in. People believe that the mirror holds the spirits of a mother and her young ones that passed away in the home. Apparently, a handprint continues to appear in one of the corners of the mirror, even though it continues to be wiped away by staff. Whoa! The mirror is definitely haunted and cursed. In our number 9 spot, we have the Koh-i-Noor Diamond. The Koh-i-Noor Diamond has been said to be cursed for centuries, but more specifically for males. It is said that only God or women can wear it with impunity. All else who wears it will be cursed. It is said to bring about great wealth to all women and great misfortune to all men. It dates back thousands of years, but it is currently in the hands of the British royal family, and it has been worn by Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth. I wonder how people started thinking that the crown was cursed. I bet you some woman, thousands of years ago, was mad at her husband and convinced him that the crown was cursed so she could have it all to herself. Like they say, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. In our number 8 spot, we have the Crying Boy. This is a painting of a boy that is crying that is said to be haunted. I had never heard of it before today, but apparently this painting is widely known around the world and on the internet as possibly being cursed. The painting is literally of a boy that's really crying, like a waterfall of tears is falling down his face. I could see why people would feel something when looking at it, as the energy is quite strong and, of course, sad. Anyways, regardless, this painting was made by a Spanish artist named Giovanni Bragolin, and the painting was actually mass-produced after the war in England, and also so many homes caught on fire after purchasing this painting, and the painting seemingly survived each time. People believed it to be cursed because, well, the painting never burned down with the houses. But many years later, the paintings were analyzed and it was proven that they had been coated with a fire repellent. It still doesn't explain all of the fires in the first place. Like, why were there so many fires after people purchased this painting? So that's why people are still very weary on this painting and believe it to be cursed. In our number 7 spot, we have the Delphi Purple Sapphire. This stone is also known as the Cursed Amethyst because it's probably cursed and you should probably not touch it. This stone was apparently stolen from the Temple of Indra in 1857 and then brought to England by Colonel W. Ferris. It is said that after this, he lost all of his fortune and received an enormous amount of bad luck. Any person after him that came into contact with the stone came upon some bad luck. Allegedly, a singer lost her voice after having the stone. Whoa. It now rests in the London Natural History Museum, and even the person that brought it there said they experienced a horrible storm while en route. Coincidence? I think not. In our number 6 spot, we have the Hope Diamond. So many cursed jewels in the world, it almost makes you believe in the possibility that it can hold energy. But wait! Everything is energy, so of course it can. We could probably go down a rabbit hole here, but whatever, I'm gonna stop myself. Anyways, the Hope Diamond is a large blue gemstone that is worth approximately $250 million. This is one of the most known cursed jewels around the world, as it has reportedly caused great misfortune and misery to whomever wears it. The reportings of misfortune date all the way back to 1653 in India, when a French merchant took the gem from one of the eyes of a Hindu idol, and eventually this merchant was eaten to death by dogs. Misfortune may be an understatement in this case. It's a good thing most of us will never get anywhere close to this object in our lifetime. In our number 5 spot, we have the Blarney Stone. This is a stone located in Cork, Ireland, and it is believed to be quite powerful. Kissing the stone is said to bring a person luck. But if there is any removal of the stone, even by taking a few pieces of the stone, the person who has removed it will be cursed with bad luck. Misfortunes such as loss of jobs, financial lows, and depression have been reported and associated with those that have taken parts of the stone. Apparently these parts that have been taken have been mailed back after they have felt the wrath of this curse. That's pretty funny when you think about it. You would think mailing it wouldn't do any good unless there's someone there to put the stone back. I doubt there's some kind of employee that's, unwrapping people's mail and putting the pieces of the stone back, and if there is such a person, even if they're a volunteer, bless them. In our number 4 spot, we have Elmo. Yes, Elmo, the character from one of the most iconic shows called Sesame Street, is known to be a cursed doll. Honestly, I heard about this one and instantly it checked out for me because my brother had an Elmo doll and it would just start talking randomly and we totally thought it was haunted. So it's comforting to know that other people had strange occurrences with it. Apparently there is a story about a boy that loved Elmo and was gifted it, and a few days after receiving it, the Elmo started saying, "Kill James," continuously. Whew, that's horrifying. Definitely stay away from the Elmo doll, just saying. In our number 3 spot, we have a piece of Uluru rock. Yet another cursed rock to stay away from. This is a large sandstone rock formation in the North Territory, Australia, and apparently this place is sacred for the indigenous people of the area. They advise that no one should take anything from the site, no small rocks or pieces or anything. But of course, do people always listen when told to not do something? No. The people that have taken pieces of the formation, though, have reported experiencing severe illness afterwards, bad luck, deaths, and terrible breakups. It feels like we've been too conditioned by movies to believe in any real magic that we forget about where writers of movies get their inspiration from. In our number 2 spot, we have the Belcourt Castle chairs. There is a summer cottage in Rhode Island, and apparently in the ballroom there are a number of cursed chairs. The idea of cursed chairs just seems so silly to me. Out of all the objects in the world, why a bunch of chairs? Well, as silly as it sounds, there have been too many sightings and experiences to count that proves this theory. People have reported feeling chills up and down their spine, and people have reported feeling a strange sensation of energy around them. Also, it has been reported by many a feeling of being pushed down from the chairs by an unseen force. I kinda wanna go there and experience that. Anyone else? But I suppose if we will be forever cursed, then maybe we shouldn't. In our number 1 spot, we have the haunted wedding dress. I'm sure there are many, many haunted wedding dresses around the world. Heck, I would say any marriage that ends in divorce, the wedding dress is probably not high vibes. But this one in particular, from a girl named Anna Baker, is known to be quite haunted. Anna Baker was from a rich family, and in 1849 she fell in love with an iron worker, aka someone of lower breeding, as they used to say. A lower class chap. Anyways, she was forbidden to marry him, and Anna had already bought her wedding dress. Oh no! Allegedly, she was heartbroken, and she decided that she would never marry anyone ever again, and she ended up passing away single as a maid in 1914. Her house eventually became a museum, and they say that her old wedding dress is haunted, and many people have reportedly seen the wedding dress moving in its glass box. Yeah, it's definitely cursed.
Number 10, Little Bastard. The Porsche 550 that ended up being the coffin for the Rebel Without a Cause star James Dean. This thing was a sleek beauty and anyone would have loved to own it. It was such a dragster it was almost guaranteed that you would end up dead in it. This car didn't only kill James Dean. After James Dean met his end in the fatal crash, the car was put in a garage and some thieves came to steal it. Each one of them was injured in the process, with one of the thieves getting crushed by the engine. After this happened, the car was broken up and sold for parts. You think in separate pieces the whole curse would have been a lot less strong. Well, you thought wrong. All the cars that received parts from the Porsche 550 ended up getting into accidents. Sometimes people survived, sometimes they didn't. I don't know what James was doing with this car that pissed it off so much. Maybe the car saw him driving another car and then got jealous and then never could trust another driver again. Just a classic tale of heartbreak. Number 9. Gettysburg Rocks. Wow, you can really put a curse on anything. Next thing you know, there's going to be the cursed winds of Manitoba. These rocks have a little bit of history behind them. They come from Gettysburg Field, where the Battle of Gettysburg happened. It was back in 1863, where a bunch of dudes died by musket and by bayonet, and now all their ghosts are probably chilling there. I wonder if there's ghosts from opposite sides and they still hate each other. Or they're like, dude, I'm so sorry for stabbing you in the neck, man. That was so rude of me. Well, I guess the ghosts who chill there are pretty protective, because if you take one of these rocks from the field home, be prepared to have your life fall apart in the worst ways. From what I've researched, this curse won't kill you, but your life will unravel and you might wish you were dead. One guy had his wife and kids walk out on him, and then he got locked up in prison. So I don't know how much you like rocks, but I don't think these guys are worth it. Number 8. King Tut's tomb. I think it's funny how if I go to a cemetery at night and start digging up bodies for some simple arts and crafts, it's called grave robbing and everybody thinks I'm crazy. But when an archaeologist does it, it's called science and preserving history. But for real, you're not going to catch me digging up any old bodies anytime, ancient or otherwise. Especially when the really old ones have curses on them. That pretty much ensures an early death. King Tut was dug up in 1922 and it was considered an incredible find, and everyone was super pumped. I can imagine everyone involved received 10 to 12 high fives that day. But their happiness soon turned into sadness because the people involved in the dig all started dying. Whatever black magic was thrown over this dead body had a very inventive imagination, because people were dying in all sorts of ways. Some got murdered while others killed themselves. I think my favorite is the guy who died from an infected mosquito bite. There should be a tagline on these things, like open the tomb and meet your doom. I'm going to trademark that before anyone takes it. Number 7. The Bassano Vase. This thing is so ballin' it's almost worth the curse. The vase is made of solid silver and it's from the 1400s. Imagine you have a dinner party and that thing is the centerpiece on your table. Everyone would know that you're a bad bitch, baby. Well, they would know that for like a month and then you would be dead, because that's what happens with this vase. The story behind the vase is that it was a wedding gift for a bride-to-be. Someone was really trying to show off by bringing the best gift. I mean, it was an Italian wedding. At least one person is going to try and show off. Well, the bride never got to enjoy it because she apparently died before she got married. In her final moments, she was clutching the vase and she swore vengeance on whoever killed her. It's unknown how she died, but most people think she was poisoned. The vase was taken by her family and passed down through generations. Everyone who owned the vase died within a few months of owning it. Eventually, this killer vase was taken by a priest and hidden away. It was discovered again, and there was a note on it that said, "Beware, this vase brings death." And guess what? It started killing people again. Museums didn't even want it. Now it's buried underground in a cemetery in a steel box. Number 6. The Chair of Death. For real, dude, this is too much. How are you gonna kill a dude for sitting down? Just let them catch a breather. This is so rude. The curse comes from Thomas Bubsby, who killed his father-in-law for, you guessed it, sitting in his chair. This guy has no chill. This was back in 1702. After Bisbee was arrested, they took him to the gallows, because if you pulled some stuff like that, killing a dude for sitting down back then, they would hang you right away. On the way to the hangman, Bubsby put a curse on the chair, making sure it would kill anyone who sat in it. Once again, chill out, dude. Try sharing something for once. Well, this curse apparently worked. The legend says that the chair has a 100% success rate in killing people. No one sits in this chair and lives. Number 5. The Gem of Sorrow. More rocks that are trying to kill you. At least this one's shiny. This little demon stone was taken from India in the 19th century when the British were taking over India. The British were ruthless and basically killed as many people as they could and took whatever they wanted, just as long as they could keep the country intact enough for them to still live there. You know, British Empire stuff. Well, one dude named W. Ferris took something that he shouldn't have. He thought it was a blue sapphire, but it was just a gemstone, and it ended up making him very ill and killed some of his family. So he gave it to a friend who then committed suicide. Now it's tucked away in a museum. Number 4. Virginia City headstones. Okay, once again guys, don't take things away from graveyards. I was just joking earlier about the grave robbing. You're gonna go to a place where they keep dead bodies? Even if you're someone of science and you don't believe in superstitions at all, you at least need to be grossed out by the hygiene level. Ugh. It seems like there's a lot of dirty people out there because the old cemetery in Virginia City, Nevada gets stuff stolen from it all the time. Like people steal everything from headstones to just rocks. But everything that you take from this place comes at a price. The curses range from getting sick to having all the people around you die. Definitely not worth it. People will often return what they've taken back to the spot they took it from because they can't handle the bad mojo that was just dropped on themselves. Sometimes they leave warning notes, which is so thoughtful. Number 3. The Terracotta Army. The army built in beautiful terracotta to protect a king in the afterlife after he died. You must have made a lot of enemies if you need an army to protect you after you died. If I died today, I would only need like 1 or 2 terracotta warriors. The army was discovered by a group of farmers, and they were probably so pumped to make this discovery, but little did they know it was probably the worst thing that had ever happened to them. I bet there was one guy who was at home with diarrhea, and today he's so happy for the liquid poops that came out of him. 2 farmers that were involved in the dig died very young, and another one committed suicide to save his family from the disease that was killing him. I think this is a tourist attraction that I'll skip. Number 2. Pompeii. Pompeii is the city that got turned into ash in an instant by a volcano, and has that dude that decided to bust a nut in his last moments. Imagine being remembered for thousands of years as the jerk-off guy. There was a kid I grew up with who people called Poonie because one time he slipped and his knee went in poo. Imagine if he was Poonie for his whole life and beyond. The legend says that the volcano destroyed Pompeii because a curse from the gods. Now people go there and take things and the curse goes home with them, and every year thousands of items are sent back with apology notes. Alright guys, I'm coming in at number 1 with Timur's curse. Timur was a ruler in the 1400s who was said to be hella ruthless and took no crap from anyone. After he died, he was buried, and it said that his tomb was cursed, and whoever opened it would have major bad mojo. What makes this curse so famous is that people think it affected World War II. Stalin thought it would be a good idea to dig up Timur because the curse is supposed to unleash an enemy even worse than Timur himself. Well, Stalin got what he wished for, because the day after he dug up the old mummy, Hitler did his surprise invasion on Russia. Oh baby, be careful what you wish for. This was the most brutal day in the war. 800,000 Soviets died that day. Stalin, what were you thinking, comrade?
Coming in at number 10, we have the Bassano vase. Nobody knows exactly where the Bassano vase is now, thankfully. It is at the center of some pretty dramatic Italian folklore. The story goes that the vase was made for an Italian wedding as a gift to the bride, who was to be wed in a traditional ceremony in Napoli. On her wedding night, she was murdered and she was found bleeding and clutching the vase. The legend has it that she promised to return and seek vengeance. After her death, the vase was passed down through the family, but anyone who came into direct contact with it mysteriously fell upon serious misfortune. Following that, the vase was wrapped up and packed away, but unfortunately, it was unearthed again hundreds of years later in the 1980s. Now then, it started making headlines for continuing its spate of deadly bad luck. Newspaper reports indicate that the vase was later buried in an undisclosed location, hoping it will stay out of the way of human contact. Fingers crossed, just don't go looking for it. Coming in at number 9, we have the Diebuck box. The infamous wine cabinet is said to be haunted with the spirit of a Holocaust victim, and provided the inspiration for the 2012 movie The Possession. The box was famously sold on eBay in 2003 and has spent the past 15 years bouncing between owners who don't want it. Why don't they want it? Well, each owner has fallen upon horrifying misfortune. One owner suffered a stroke after receiving it as a gift. Apparently the box has now been hidden away by Jewish rabbis. Coming in at number 8, we have Greco-Roman cursed tablets. Back Back in the Greco-Roman era, so basically 332 BCE to 395 AD, it was very popular to curse tablets. These were basically texts scratched on little sheets of lead. These were then thrown in wells, buried in graves, or hidden in walls, etc. They were intended to cause harm to specific people, so for example, one unearthed in London on display in the British Museum says, "I curse Tetra Maria and her life and mind and memory and liver and lungs mixed up together. May she be unable to speak what things are concealed, nor be able." Sucks to be her. These little curses have cropped up all over the place. Over 200 have been found in the UK alone. While the curses are intended for specific people for specific wrongdoings, who actually wants to dig up an ancient curse? Not me. Coming in at number 7, we have Muramasa swords. Muramasa was said to be an excellent ancient Japanese swordsmith in the 1500s. He wanted his swords to be the perfect weapons, so he asked the gods to instill them with special powers, which they did, only they also made them bloodthirsty and drove whoever wielded one crazy. Japanese folklore calls the swords cursed, and there are actually a few of them still surviving today. Those that have survived have found their way into exhibitions, but I would avoid them like the plague because whoever picks one up apparently goes crazy and wants to kill people. Good, great. Moving on to number 6, we have the Busby stoop chair. Do not go looking for the Busby stoop chair in North Yorkshire. As much as I love North Yorkshire, you don't want to be getting all cursed and stuff when you're really there to, enjoy a pie and a pint and just like some good countryside. Getting cursed really does ruin all of the fun. To cut a long story short, this chair was a guy named Thomas Busby's favourite pub chair. And I totally get that, like you go to your local, you want to sit in your favourite chair. Unfortunately, he got tied up in some bad business and murdered a man. When it came to his arrest, in the pub, obviously, he was sitting in his favourite chair. Now he was very concerned about losing his pub spot, more so than being arrested. After he was hung, the story goes that anyone who sat in the chair befell great misfortune. The most recent chair-related death came in 1978. At this point, the pub owner had had enough of the chair. He wanted it out of his way. He gave it to the Thirsk Museum, who have strung it up on the ceiling so no one can sit in it, although just like, don't even try it. Coming into number 5, we have the haunted eBay mirror. In 2013, a haunted mirror was sold on eBay for £100. Student Joseph Birch and his flatmates started experiencing weird goings on when their landlord hung up the mirror he found in a skip. Anyone watching from the USA, this is basically like a little dumpster outside your house. The listing warns them that the item, despite being a beautiful Grand Victorian mirror, was possessed. The students said they woke up with scratches and things all over them, and they said they saw dark shadows flickering in the mirror. In the eBay listing, they said that the mirror makes them feel sick. Whilst the mirror was sold on eBay, the sale happened 5 years ago now, so little is known of its whereabouts today. Coming into number 4, we have Maori masks. Maori are the indigenous people of New Zealand, and their masks are thought to contain the souls of warriors who died in battle. Whilst most people are okay touching a Maori mask, legend has it that if you're menstruating or pregnant, you should stay away because if you touch it, you can become cursed. You could even lose your baby or become infertile. Coming into number 3, we have the Black Orlov Diamond. Unlike the more famous cursed Hope Diamond, the Orlov Diamond is still in circulation. The Hope Diamond lays in a museum where it can't hurt people, but the Black Diamond, formerly called the Eye of Brahma Diamond, is still out there, but it's now been split into several pieces of jewellery. The reason for the misfortune tied up in the jewel is because, as its original name hints, it came from the eye of the statue of the Hindu god Brahma. It was then stolen by a monk. Bad monk. In 1932, diamond dealer J.W. Paris was exposed to the diamond for a while. He later jumped off a skyscraper in New York. Following that, 2 Russian princesses who owned the diamond consecutively jumped to their deaths in the mid-1900s. In a bid to break the curse, the diamond has been cut up into several pieces and is now a brooch and a necklace. One of the pieces was offered to actress Felicity Huffman, but she refused to wear it, which I think is totally fair. Coming into number 2, we have undisturbed Egyptian mummies. The curse of the pharaohs seems to be pretty legit, as many archaeologists have found over their time. If you've learned anything from history, I'd say that you should know never to go looking for an Egyptian mummy. One of the most famous examples of the curse of the pharaohs comes from those who opened King Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922. Lead Egyptologist Lord Carnarvon died 6 weeks after opening the tomb. He died And then a further 7 people on the dig also passed away in suspicious circumstances. Reportedly, another archaeologist on the dig received a paperweight containing a mummified hand. Now this hand had the inscription that read, "Cursed be he who moves my body, to him shall come fire, water and pestilence." Now apparently the person who received the weight, Bruce Ingram, had his house burned down, followed by a flood after it was rebuilt. Now there are still plenty of undisturbed tombs out there, but I just wouldn't go looking for them. Finally, coming in at number 1, we have William Shakespeare's grave. Now apparently documentary makers in Stratford-upon-Avon plan to investigate William Shakespeare's grave so long as they don't physically disturb it. Now the world famous playwright's grave is inscribed with a curse that promises to rain doom on those that touch it. Now I for one would stay away, I wouldn't go looking for this grave. The documentary makers however are unperturbed. They're dicing with death as they want to 3D scan the tomb. But I don't know, who knows how curses react to technology. I personally just would stay away. Nobody wants the kind of bad luck that the bard could bring.
In our number 10 spot, we have the Donald Trump mask. It's probably cursed because along with how funny it is, it's also terrifying. Imagine seeing someone wear this walk by you. If they had, a similar build to him and they wore like a turtleneck, then I would probs think it was him. The extremely orange face with the white eyes is too much. Too funny and terrifying at the same time. In our number 9 spot, we have a zombie mug. Merch like this makes me terrified but also excited. This mug is super creepy though, and most definitely cursed. This is a mug that when heated, a zombie appears in the cup with blood on its hands. The zombie's face is quite chilling that it actually feels like there's some kind of spirit attached to it. Anyone else? The zombie is also pretty bloody too, no thanks. Definitely stay away from this product unless you like dealing with dark spirits, then by all means go for it. In our number 8 spot, we have the faceless carving. This is an item of a mother and daughter hugging that's a carving made of willow tree. The only thing is, the mother and daughter do not have faces. Look, I love my mom. She's one of my best friends, and I love cheesy lovey-dovey products to show that you love someone, but this isn't the one. I don't know, man. Seeing this, I got the instant creeps, and I personally think this item might be haunted. There's so much detail in the figurine. Why leave the faces blank? From what I've gathered, there are a lot of items similar to this made from a brand called Willow Tree, and honestly, I think their intention seems to be to make some sort of comforting merch. At least that's what they say in their marketing. But personally, there's something spooky about these figurines without faces. Faceless items just feel too horror movie for me. Quite possibly haunted and therefore cursed. In our number 7 spot, we have the creepy pen holder. Okay, so this item is just creepy. It's a pen holder with a little red man figurine lying on the floor, and the hole where you put your pen in is right in its heart. Who the heck thought of this? What was their thought process? Who were they imagining this guy to be? And why don't they have better friends to say, hey man, maybe don't make such a low vibe product? The world is low vibe enough these days. This item is not cursed in your typical ghostly way, but it definitely is just low vibes to begin with, so anyone who buys it is sure to continue the low vibe train and sit in a bit of a crappy headspace. In our number 6 spot, we have the LED mask. Look, I'm conflicted. On one hand, this is kinda cool to look at first, if you're into LEDs. On the other, it's very creepy, and also it can't be good to wear LEDs so close to your face, can it? I don't know. I don't know much about electricity and lights, but something makes me nervous about wearing lights on my face, and I'm concerned that no one even asked the seller about that. The mask itself is also the face of something out of a nightmare, so there's also that. I could see a John Wayne Gacy of this time using this mask while plotting his next kill, and that just gives me the shivers, not gonna lie. With its creepiness and the fact that it's probably not very safe to wear LEDs on your face, at least for long, I'm gonna go ahead and say that this product may curse you with some kind of low vibe situation in your future if bought. In our number 5 spot, we have a kitty salt and pepper holder. Look, I'm a cat and dog person. I love them both. I sway a little more on the dog side, but whatever, they tend to give you more love. Anyways, my point is that I love all cat and dog merch, but this is terrifying. This is a cat salt and pepper shaker that could have been made cute and adorable, but it looks like it it may possess you. First off, the cat is dark gray with shades of black. Could they have not made him white or orange or give him a cute yellow collar? Anyways, it's really the face that's terrifying. Couldn't they have modeled the face off of the cat from Shrek? It's so cute with the big eyes. No, they made the cat look like it will probably eat you while you're sleeping. In our number 4 spot, we have the toilet mug. I'm throwing this one on the list because it's clearly cursed to make you want to throw up every time you have your morning cup of tea. This is a toilet tea mug. I can't. Just why? If you are someone watching this and you have bought this item, please explain in the comment section below. It's just so beyond gross. It's definitely a funny gift, but also a waste because it's so gross that I just can't imagine anyone drinking from it and not feeling like they must now run to the real toilet. Anyways, if anything, I want to argue that it's cursed with not being used much and definitely will make people feel ill. In our number 3 spot, we have the Let's Summon Demons shirt. Let's not. Maybe let's go outside and play in the grass under the sun, or make chalk drawings on the pavement, or beat Pokemon Gold again like it's 2002 and do everything but summon demons, okay? Why is there a shirt that is encouraging people to summon demons? Clearly the creator that made it was being possessed by demons himself or herself, and the demons gathered together to plan how they can possess more people, and alas, came upon the plan of encouraging people to summon them through a t-shirt with cute humans holding hands while standing on a giant pentagram. In our number 2 spot, we have a satanic ring. Whether you're religious or not, I'm sure you can look at this product and feel uneasy. It's a gold-plated stainless steel ring that has a devil skeleton with a cross on its forehead. It's extremely dark. Anything to do with the devil just makes me uneasy, but honestly, there's nothing about this product that feels positive. Even as a Halloween ring, I feel like it's just too much. The vibe around it is quite low, and I'm pretty convinced that anyone that buys it will be doomed to feeling low while wearing it. Could be just me, but I believe that we should be careful with what we put on us, as objects carry energy, and even if you got someone to cleanse an object, something like this, you'll always know that its maker had low vibe intentions when creating it, so therefore it could always possibly be low vibes. In our number 1 spot, we have the Furby doll. Guys, stay away from this doll. I had to put this in first because I had so many creepy situations that happened with this doll that I'm convinced it's possessed. Also, it's not just me. Literally, this was trending a few years ago where people told their possessed Furby doll experiences, and I instantly felt more creeped out as that totally confirmed my own experiences. Literally, I would be talking to my mom and the doll would say something that would be in response to what we were talking about. Or it would just, make noise or blink when the battery wasn't in it. I'm telling ya, this item is not to be played with. If you have a haunted Furby story, oh my gosh, please share in the comment section below. We want to hear it.
Starting things off in at number 10 with the Thomas Busby's chair. Otherwise known as the death chair or dead man's chair. I mean, this doesn't seem like a piece of furniture that I would want in my house, but maybe that's just me. This chair is supposedly cursed, and anyone who dares to sit on this chair will die shortly after. Let me give you guys a brief background on this killer chair. A man named Thomas Busby murdered his father-in-law back in 1702. For his awful crimes, he was executed by hanging, but it is believed that a chair was present at the execution carried a curse, and whoever sat on it will die from an unspeakable accident. The chair remained in a hotel for many years until the owner gifted it to a museum. The museum owner wanted to display the chair, but obviously he didn't want anyone to sit on it, so now this cursed chair is hung high up on the wall where no one can touch it. The cursed mirror of Myrtle's Plantation breaks onto this list at number 9. The Myrtle's Plantation is believed to be one of the most haunted places in the entire world, but one of the most haunted items on the premises has to be this cursed mirror. The mirror was brought into the home back in 1980, and according to the legend, the mirror contains the spirit of Sarah Woodruff and her children who were poisoned to death by a slave on the plantation. It is said that whenever a family member dies, you're supposed to cover up all the mirrors so that the spirits don't get trapped or lost. Well, I guess this family missed that memo. Guests at the plantation have complained about seeing figures lurking in the mirror and a child-sized handprints on the glass. Take a look at these pictures mirrors and see if you can spot the ghost or handprint in the mirror. I don't know about you guys, but I'm gonna be getting rid of all my mirrors tonight. Next up on this list, and at number 8, we have the Crying Boy painting. Can we just take a look at this thing for a moment? Okay, who the heck would actually want this painting in their house? It's just so sad and depressing. Well, what makes things even worse is that this painting is believed to be cursed. This painting was made by an artist in the 1950s, and for some odd reason, it became famous. It was mass produced and replicated so that it could be sold around the country. However, people who hung this painting inside of their room reported that their house caught on fire for no apparent reason. But that's not even the most disturbing part of the story. Apparently the painting of the crying boy would be completely untouched by the fire. Some people say that this is a pure coincidence, but the undamaged painting hasn't been explained. We have another cursed painting here at number 7. The Hands Resist Him painting is another piece of artwork that I definitely wouldn't want in my house. I mean, just take a look at this thing. Is this real life right now? What is with the crying children? I don't find this comforting or visually pleasing to look at. Well, this cursed painting has been terrifying people for decades, and I'll tell you why. The painting was put up on auction on eBay back in February of 2000. According to the seller, the painting carried some kind of curse. They said that the characters in the painting would move at night, and that they would sometimes leave the painting and enter the room where it was being displayed. But people also believe by just looking at the painting you feel extremely ill or have a really unpleasant experience. The Bassano vase comes crashing in onto this list at number 6. No one knows where this curse originated from or how this vase came to be so powerful. But it is believed that this vase contains a terrible curse, and anyone who comes into possession of it will be doomed and die shortly after. Even with this curse, the vase was auctioned off for about $2,250, and the person that bought it died within just 3 months. 3 more deaths of the new owners followed until finally a desperate family demanded that the police take it and seal it up forever. Robert the Doll, you guys know this one. Well, he's next up on this list at number 5. This guy is just creepy. I feel like Robert the Doll doesn't need a long introduction, so in short, he's terrifying. He's a cursed doll that is capable of misfortune and even murder. Currently, he sits in a clear box at the Fort East Martello Museum in Florida, but before that, he belonged to a family until he was given away. He can apparently move across the room on his own, follow you with his creepy beady eyes, and he can also wreak havoc in your life if you disrespect him. I mean, wow, Robert the Doll sounds like so much fun, right? Well, apparently there are a ton of stories about this doll trying to kill people. The fun and games are over. Sounds like we have a real life Chucky doll on our hands. Driving into number 4, we have James Dean's cursed car. This was a 1955 Porsche Spyder that was cared for and loved by James Dean. You would think that this car was properly taken care of and it wouldn't be cursed, right? Well, that's not the case here. Apparently, if anyone gets into this car, they would be found dead within a week, and that's exactly what happened to James Dean. He is found dead inside of it, but things get even more creepy. As the car was being worked on, the car fell on one of the mechanic's legs and crushed both of them, but the curse kept going on. When the car got a new owner, he lost control and crashed it into a tree, dying right on impact. Oh, and 2 people who tried to steal the car were severely injured. I think it's best if we leave this car permanently in a park and maybe torch it. The woman from Lem statue brings us to number 3. This limestone statue is also known as the Goddess of Death because anyone who comes into contact with this mysterious statue will die from unknown causes. I mean, wow, let's break this statue and bury it deep in the ground where it belongs, and we shouldn't mark it. And did I mention that every family who possessed this statue died? I mean, yeah. And one of the families were so scared by the strange deaths, so they decided to donate the statue to the Royal Scottish Museum in Edinburgh, where it actually remains there today. So shortly after the statue was placed in the museum, the people who came into close contact with it died. No one has handled this statue since because of its scary supernatural powers. This item is actually placed behind a strong glass and locked where no human hands can touch it. The Diebuck box climbs into this list at number 2. These boxes are usually a wine box that is said to be haunted by a restless demonic spirit that is capable of haunting and even possessing you. The first Diebuck box appeared in 2003 when it was purchased on eBay. Once the new owner opened up the box, a bunch of strange things started to happen. He had unexplained hauntings, recurring nightmares, unexplained bruises, and he can constantly smell ammonia. Other people who have come into contact with the box reported having the same awful nightmares, experienced negative health problems, and unexplained deaths happening around them. So if you happen to open up one of these boxes, you're supposed to burn it and burn it right away. The box will burn for a long time, but once it is burned, the diabuk is fully released and it can't return back to the box. Or better yet, how about we just don't open it in the first place? We lock it away forever. And topping this list, and at number 1, I mean, how do we make a list like this and not include the Annabelle doll?
Don't ever touch anything, and if you do, let me know. This is the worst thing in here, is that doll. I'm not gonna stare at it though. So you can take the picture, but I'm not gonna stare at it.
Annabelle is actually a Raggedy Ann doll, which is now locked up in Ed and Lorraine Warren's Occult Museum in Connecticut, and I'm pretty sure they just passed away. It's pretty sad. I think it was Lorraine that passed away, so rest in peace. And that's because Annabelle was said to have caused some pretty disturbing and demonic events. Annabelle would shift positions during the day or move to a different room entirely. She also left penciled messages that said "help us." The owner also came home to find drops of blood on the doll's chest and on the back of her hand. It is believed that Annabelle was involved in a chain of events that ended in a man's death. So needless to say, Annabelle is considered to be demonically possessed, and that is why she's locked up in a glass cabinet.
Coming up in our number 10 spot, we have Musée de Horreur Octopus Man. That's my French accent for ya. It failed. This is a poster that honestly gave me the creeps to look at, which is my sign for the fact that it's cursed. This is a replica of a French poster from 1899. This poster is of a man that is seemingly half man, half octopus. The man is also wearing an eye patch and looks quite stern, so overall, the vibe of this picture is just low. Not to mention, it's literally called the Museum of Horrors, so that just sets the tone for you to be scared. Words are powerful, folks. In our number 9 spot, we have the Jeffrey Dahmer blade. This is one of the most chilling items that I found. This is a kitchen cooking blade that has the face of known killer Jeffrey Dahmer. Why does this product even exist? I don't understand, people. Jeffrey Dahmer is known for being a cannibal, and so this product just pushes the envelope a little too much for me. Upon inspecting the item, I noticed that 6 people bought it and 45 people are watching the item. Who are these 6 people and 45 watchers? I demand a reason for buying this item. Unless it is for Halloween purposes. Actually, no. Even still, this is too dark. Imagine the headspace you have to be in to even think of this item. I'm scared. Let's move on. In our number 8 spot, we have the angry baby face. Maybe it's because I'm creeping up on my motherhood years, or maybe it's because this is genuinely supremely creepy. I'm really unsure, but would love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. This is an angry baby face mask. Actually, it's a collection of baby face masks with an angry version, a crying version, and a happy version, and all of them are quite disturbing. I think the happy version is the most nerve-wracking, to be honest. The baby looks like Gollum when he finally has the ring in his hands. I think the eyes are possibly the worst part, so big and grayish blue. I'm concerned that 48 people bought this, but whatever. In our number 7 spot, we have the pig mask. Has anyone ever seen the show Black Mirror? And the first episode is with the politician and the pig? Yep. Quite the disturbing show, and not gonna lie, ever since that episode I've had a hard time with pigs. Actually, that's a lie. I just have never liked pigs that much, if I'm being honest. The only pig that I ever loved was from the movie Babe. Okay, fine, and the one from Charlotte's Web. Anyways, this is a mask of an angry pig. Guys, did you know that pigs sometimes eat their babies? Pigs are scary, okay? This mask gives me the creeps, and it's absolutely cursed. 43 people have bought this item item. Correction, 43 sociopaths have bought this item. In our number 6 spot, we have the family heirloom. This is a ring that is pretty creepy to look at. It's quite old and worn out and is supposedly an heirloom to the Borgia family, a prominent Italian family. This heirloom is a piece that dates back to the 1600s. It is also a piece of jewelry that is said to be haunted, as it was a part of an Ed and Lorraine case at one point in its history, and the case dealt with a lot of suffering. The ring is made of gold and the stones have not been identified. I've never seen a stone like it. It almost looks otherworldly. The ring has a set price of, wait for it, $3,000 US. A lot of money to spend on a possession that is definitely cursed. In our number 5 spot, we have Aladdin's lamp. This item is probably cursed, but also it's really cool, so I'm conflicted as to how I feel about it. I was a hardcore Aladdin fan, not gonna lie, and I have to admit, Aladdin was definitely my first crush. He's a dreamer who does what he can to make his dreams happen, so gotta love that in a man. Anyways, this lamp speaks to me. Does that mean whatever is haunting it is speaking to me? Does that mean I'm already being tricked? Anyways, very confusing. The seller of this lamp claims it to be haunted, as well as that it possesses powers. It's also really dirty. Not sure if this seller decided to leave it dirty so that it looks like it came straight out of the desert of Agrabah, but I don't understand. Like, why couldn't you have wiped it down, like, even a little? My cleaning OCD is acting up, so let's move on. In our number 4 spot today, we have a haunted ring. The title of this product is literally Haunted Ring, so do we think it's cursed? I'm leaning towards yes. This might be the spookiest ring that I have ever seen. It has a brassy look to it with what looks like a bird at the top, then honestly what looks like stitching or maybe a tally of something underneath, and then the letters ROM and some more stitching or tallying of something. It's so strange. Upon further investigation, apparently there is supposed to be an A at the end of the ROM, meaning it's supposed to spell out Roma, and apparently this is a ring that was made for a man for his wife named Roma, who was a survivor of World War II. Dark. Honestly, if this was a gesture of love, couldn't he have just written I love you? Some men need guidance. In our number 3 spot, we have the clown painting. This is a painting of a clown that literally looks like it's looking into your soul. Or perhaps it's looking into your ear and getting ready to pull a coin out of it, but regardless, I'm scared. It's cursed. There's clearly a spirit attached to this painting. This painting is from the 60s, and I truly wonder who in the world bought this painting back then. Also, I want to know where in the house this painting would be hung if bought, because I don't think there is a room that it would not be creepy in. Unless you had a room of clown merch, then perhaps it wouldn't be as creepy. It would just add to the collective creep vibe, but still, if you have a happy clown story and are convinced you can make me less scared of clowns, please share it with me in the comment section below. In our number 2 spot, we have this old Ouija board. This one might be a given, as it's literally a tool to talk to the dead, but whatever, I had to put it on the list because it's clearly cursed and we should definitely stay away from this item. This is a very old version of the board that has probably passed through the hands of many in its time, and it is so dark and spooky looking that it just gives me the creeps. When people play Ouija, they could be talking to good or bad spirits, and they say that the bad ones can actually attach to you if you're not careful. I truly wish this game came with a list of player stories so people could be aware of how psychologically damaging it can be. I had a very dark experience with this game, so definitely stay away and do not buy it. In our number 1 spot, we have the Illuminati New World Order card game. Okay, I had to put this one in first because it's honestly intense. This is a card game that was invented in 1994 by an artist named Steve Jackson. This isn't just any card game though. Oh no, this is a card game that has predicted a lot of crazy events that have happened in world history. There's too many predictions to count at this point, but the very fact that it was invented in 1994 and there is literally a card with 2 buildings and 1 exploding, similar to a certain attack that happened in 2001 in New York City, is mind-blowing. This deck is called the Illuminati New World Order, which makes you wonder, was this a prophetic game? Or was this quite possibly made by an insider that was subtly warning the world of what is to come? In any case, this item is definitely cursed, as the cards keep coming true, so beware.
Number 10, Uluru Rock. I'll be honest, I'm a rock guy. I go on vacation, I'm goggles up the entire time. I love looking for geology and history. It's hard not to want to bring something home every trip, right? But depending where you are, you could be in a lot of trouble for doing so. In the Northern Territory of Australia, for example, there is a beautiful monumental sandstone formation. It's known as Ayers Rock or Uluru Rock. Now this site is sacred for the Aboriginal people of the land. They respectfully ask that no visitors take any piece of the sandstone home with them. Yet of course, some of us can't follow simple instructions, and in numerous cases, bad luck has followed them home as well. Breakups, death of a loved one, you name it, it's all bad. Why risk it? Just leave things alone, you know? Number 9. Robert the Evil Doll. A man named Rob Otto, he was given a doll that looked a lot like him. One of his servants who didn't like him made him this doll. This was clearly a voodoo doll, right? Obviously, this is an obvious trap. Neighbors would then hear Robert talking to this doll. Robert and Robert the podcast, I guess. I don't know, tune in. Now, after Robert's untimely death, the new owners of the house found that same doll. They found it in the attic, still there. That family was haunted afterwards by the same doll. They would hear threats coming from it at night, so now the doll is on display at a museum in Key West. No more threats, just glass cage forever. Number 8. Elmo. The Sesame Street icon has been in homes for many, many years. There was a literal stampede when Tickle Me Elmo was released. An employee was sadly trampled, got his ribs broken. It was horrible. People go crazy for these things. When the Elmo Knows Your Name toy was launched by Fisher-Price back in 2005, there were 15,000 names ready to go. Only one family was traumatized. Only one. That's not bad, all things considered. That Elmo toy apparently spoke on its own, threatening to harm the family, often, so they tossed it out immediately. This happened more than once though. The audio sounded off for some devices in some homes. Be Like Elmo sounded like Beat Up Elmo. The Elmo phone was also released in 2009, and it often said 456, but in some cases it sounded like Who Wants to Have Very different things, those two. Those are 2 different phrases. Those are not the same at all. We're all learning things with Elmo, whether you like it or not. Number 7. Belcourt Castle chairs. This one's like the opposite of musical chairs. These chairs are no fun at all. This Rhode Island ballroom is beautiful. It's a cottage mansion, a lot of wood, a lot of history. It smells great, I bet. I would have bet that there would be a ghost woman in the ballroom. Turns out it's actually a handful of chairs. Who knew? That was my second guess. Handful of chairs. That's good. Visitors have reported an eerie feeling when standing close to these chairs. They get the chills, they get this sense of energy almost. Now, things certainly go a step further. Some guests have seen the chair move on their own, or they've had the chairs push against them, all of course by some invisible force. I'm not sure if I believe in ghosts personally, but if I saw a chair moving, yeah, that would do it. Just one of those would definitely flip my beliefs for sure. Haunted furniture, that gets me. That's pretty bad. Number 6, the haunted skull. I'm pretty sure every skull is haunted. No, but I don't know. This one specifically, ooh, this one's real haunted though. Here we go. Located in the Burton Agnes Hall over in England, the Screaming Skull sits quite still, but its curse is very real and very active. The Screaming Skull once belonged to Catherine Ann Griffith, who died in 1620. Now, reports of strange figures or shadows around the skull, that's one thing, but many people believe they can still hear the screams of one Catherine Ann Griffith to this day. Number 5, the unlucky mummy. Right off the bat, the unlucky mummy isn't an actual mummy per se. It's rather the lid of a coffin that once belonged to a high status woman who lived sometime around 950 BCE. So a little old, little time ago. The mummy board wasn't seen again until the early 1800s AD. It was found in Thebes. 4 Englishmen found it, and of course they were celebrating this ancient piece of history, but it didn't take long for all 4 of those men to pass away from mysterious circumstances. If you're looking for more top 10s on ancient history, come meet me over on our top 10 history channel. It's called Bumblebee. We do top 10s only on historical stuff. Ancient eras, mummies, silly Victorian era hats, cool shoes, I don't know, you name it. It's all over at Bumblebee. See you there. Number 4. Mandy the Haunted Doll. Mandy lives in the Quesnel Museum in Canada. Awesome, nice and close to home. The staff of the museum insists that Mandy is kept in a separate display case all by herself, because when she's with other dolls, she would end up knocking them over somehow, some way. Staff also reported that their lunches would disappear and that photos of the doll would end up glitching out. The lunches disappearing, that's for sure one dude who's blaming ghosts. That's actually not a bad plan. I'm okay with that. But the photos, that's terrifying. That's a surefire sign that it's haunted. Number 3, the Great Bed of Ware. We figured we'd get nice and cozy for this next one. For starters, it's massive and it's cozy. It looks like the bed a king would certainly sleep in, and rightfully so. The Great Bed of Ware was built for the royal family back in 1463. It was 12 feet by 12 feet. Jonas Fosbrook, a carpenter from that time, they impressed King Edward IV so much with their work that the king gave them a pension for the rest of their life. People would travel all across the land to see this bed. That's a fun family vacation. Yeah, we're gonna go see a bed. Yeah, Disneyland's closed today. Let's go see this bed. Shakespeare mentioned this bed in his play The Twelfth Night, okay? This is a big deal. All those who stayed in the bed though, they did not have a good night's rest. No, instead they woke up to scratches and bruises, or they would wake up just on the floor. Yeah, somehow they would roll out of a 12-foot bed. Today it can be found in the Victoria and Albert Museum in case you wanna go in there and take a nap. Would you stay the night in this old haunted, dirty, and probably very uncomfortable bed? Sound off below, I definitely wouldn't. Number 2, the baker's wedding dress. Back in 1849 in the small town of Altoona, Pennsylvania, Elias Baker and his wife Hetty lived in the Baker mansion. They had 2 sons and 1 daughter named Anna Baker. Anna had fallen in love with one of her father's employees. Nice. Another steel worker, but her father wouldn't allow the relationship to take off. So Anna vowed to never marry again ever. She locked herself in her room for the time being. And when her father passed away in 1848, she went to find her true love again, but he had since moved on and settled down. Yeah, worst case scenario. So she spent the rest of her days behaving erratically, and her soul apparently still haunts that same wedding dress today. Not just the dress, also the mansion is apparently haunted as well. Guests would report furniture moving around. What's with ghosts and moving furniture? Where were these guys when I was moving? And finally, number 1, the Bassano vase. This vase comes from the 15th century. It made for an excellent wedding gift, of course, in Italy one day, but the night before, the big day, bride sadly lost her life with the vase still in her possession. So the family kept it afterwards, of course, but as the vase was passed down the family line, a pattern began to unveil itself. It was kind of hard to ignore. Whomever held possession of the Bassano vase died shortly after in some way, shape, or form. Now keep in mind, this was the 15th century, so the average lifespan was 30 to 40 years old on a good day. But after many deaths in the family, it was packed away for good, just to be safe, or so they thought. The vase showed up again in 1988 alongside a note. The note was pretty to the point. It said, "Beware, this vase brings death." End of note. Pretty simple, I like it. Whoever found it was probably like, huh, okay, and then continued on with it. And then it was auctioned for over $2,000 sans note. Weird, they left the note out of that, that's odd. The pharmacist who won the auction, well, you guessed it, passed away within months.
Alright, coming in at number 10, we have the Doll of the Devil. This is the name being given to the creepy doll that caused a stir on the internet in 2018. Footage of a vampire doll that follows you with its eyes went viral after the demon doll appeared on an unmarked tombstone in Mexico. You know what? I don't like the sound of this. Oh, but it gets even worse. The doll was found with a baby bottle of blood next to it. I'm not even sure if this is the original video, but footage uploaded to YouTube by RM Videos shares the creepy doll, and it's had over 330,000 views. Look how its eyes really bore into your soul. Who watching this video would touch that doll? Yeah, rather you than me, mate. Coming in at number 9, we have Mandy. Mandy is one of the more notorious haunted dolls. I'm actually pretty creeped out just looking at her, to be honest. It's all about her cracked face, her knitted bonnet, and that creepy little lamb. They're enough for me to basically want nothing to do with her, but as I'm here hosting a top 10 video, I kind of have to give you the story. Sucks to be me. Alright. So, Mandy is said to date back to the 1920s and is thought to have come from Germany. Somehow, she travelled all the way to Canada, and in 1991 she was donated to a museum in British Columbia. Why was she given to a museum? Well, her previous owner thought that she was possessed. She said she would wake up at night to hear a baby crying and that the windows in her home would miraculously open. After she gave away the doll, the crying and the window opening stopped, but strange things started happening in the museum. Workers also heard crying, and weirdly some staff members would find their lunch had disappeared. I'm sorry, but ain't nobody messing with my lunch. In one truly terrifying turn of events, that little toy lamb was found outside of Mandy's case. How'd it get there? Well, paranormal investigators say that Mandy is possessed by the spirit of a child, but she isn't actually a menace, just playful. Nonetheless, I think I would keep my hands off her. Coming in at number 8, we have the wedding scratcher. Like, I already don't feel super great about a porcelain doll dressed as a bride. It kind of combines all of my fears of corpse brides, Miss Havisham, and spooky haunted dolls, making it a bit of a trio of doom. Speaking of doom, this bride doll bought it in bounds for a family who bought the doll for £5 in a charity shop in the United Kingdom. 50-year-old Debbie Merrick brought the China doll, but then she got way more than she bargained for. It started bringing chaos and misfortune into her home. She placed the doll on display in the spare room, but since the doll moved in, her husband began waking up with scratches all over his legs. He also had started having dreams that the doll dragged him across the floor. Debbie has also been having nightmares about the doll and says that since she came to be in their home, their smoke alarm frequently goes off. In the end, she decided, you know what, I'm just putting that doll up for sale. Good riddance. Coming in at number 7, we have dead dolls. Less curse, more, well, actually dead people turned into dolls, which, I mean, really, do you want to go touching that? No. Anatoly Moskvin brought to life the Russian urban legend of a nasty corpse collector. It seemed that the 44-year-old took to grave robbing young dead girls, which he then turned into dolls. How? Well, he mummified the girls, dressed them up, and placed them around his room. Of course, this super creep of a middle-aged man still lived with his parents, and somehow his illicit activities went unnoticed by them. He managed to convince his mum and dad that he had a thing for big dolls. At this point, when your son's 44 and still living at home and gets a thing for big dolls, is it not time to stage an intervention? I think so. Moskvin would film the corpse dolls and zoom up close into their faces, apparently obsessed with his creations. Eventually, Russian police cottoned on to what he was doing and raided his home, where they found the robbed corpses of 26 females aged between 3 and 15. Disgusting. Their families must have been distraught to learn their dead children had been defiled in this way. When I die, please don't turn me into a doll. I don't want that. I don't need that. Coming in at number 6, we have this Elmo doll. I can't believe it has been almost 10 years since an Elmo doll made headlines for threatening to kill a toddler. I remember reading about it at the time. I can't believe time's flown so much. So Elmo, as many of you may know, is a Muppet puppet from Sesame Street. A while back, a bunch of Elmo dolls that could talk and say your name were released. Now 2-year-old James Bowman was the proud owner of a doll, and he enjoyed Elmo saying his name so much that he quickly ran the batteries down. When the batteries were replaced by his mum, for some reason the doll stopped just saying his name. Instead, out of nowhere, it started saying, "Kill James." Okay. The 2-year-old then even started repeating the doll, saying "Kill James," which you can imagine totally and utterly freaked his mum out. She did what all good mothers would do and tossed the evil cursed doll right on out of there, although not before footage of the creepy toy in action was recorded and distributed to the press. Have a listen.
Kill James? Kill James?
Yeah, I don't feel good about that. His mum said that she was kind of distraught and, I mean, I'll say. Coming in at number 5, we have Robert. What a classic. While I usually love a good nautical theme, I am absolutely not here for this sailor doll. Robert is a 20th century doll that used to belong to a child called Eugene Otto. Eugene used to blame many naughty things he did on Robert, and the pair would often be overheard talking, with Eugene's parents assuming Robert's voice was really Eugene. When Eugene died in 1974, Robert was left in an attic and discovered by the next owners of the home, who had a 10-year-old daughter. The small girl was terrified of Robert and claimed he wanted to kill her. Neighbors of the house would swear they saw Robert at the window on occasion, and a plumber who worked at the house found the doll to move across the room on its own. A reporter from the area, Malcolm Ross, visited the house to see Robert and was disturbed to sense that Robert was listening to his conversation, and he even thought he was understanding him. Legend has it that this doll has caused car accidents, broken bones, made people lose their jobs, get divorced, divorced, and more. Robert is now in a museum in Florida's Key West, and museum visitors supposedly experience post-visit misfortunes for failing to respect Robert. So do you know what? Maybe don't even look at Robert, let alone touch him. He does not like disrespect. Another doll you should never look at is Peggy. Peggy will make you sick, and she is coming into number 4. So Peggy is a haunted doll residing in the UK in Shrewsbury, Shropshire to be precise. Peggy is owned by paranormal investigator Jane Harris, who runs an organisation called Haunted Dolls. That's what it says on the tin. Really. She was given Peggy by a terrified woman who couldn't cope with the burden of the doll. Peggy is thought to have the power to visit people in their dreams, warning them or haunting them. Mediums who have worked with Peggy believe that she is linked to the Holocaust, and Jane believes that she died of respiratory issues, possibly a gassing. In 2015, Peggy caused a media stir when an article was published about her on the Mail Online, after which 80 readers reported having an awful experience after viewing her picture. Most were nausea, but some people even had panic attacks. Peggy is said to be haunted by an evil spirit. Now Jane, her owner, did ask the doll to stop tormenting people, but apparently one woman even had a heart attack shortly after meeting her. Yikes. Coming in at number 3, we have Victorian mourning dolls. We're lucky we're living in the age we do, as 150 years or so ago things were not so great. During the Victorian era, child mortality rates were high. As a result, the Victorians dealt with death in a pretty different way than we do now. In the late 19th century, it became habitual to have a mourning doll made and laid at the grave of a dead child. The dolls were usually made of wax, and their hair was generally made from the hair of the deceased, which is pretty creepy. The doll would also be dressed in the deceased's clothes and mourned as if they were a real child. These dolls were then often kept in a container by bereaved families. Now I'm not saying that they're necessarily cursed, but they were the physical representation of a dead child made with the child's real hair. I for one would not go touching them. Alright, less spooky in kind of a ghostly way, but very spooky in a real life do you wanna kill me way, we have Snack Time Cabbage Patch Kid at number 2. Now these were the true menaces of the 1990s. Sure, they might not be haunted or possessed by a demon, but these dolls were the real demon here. Why? Well, because they tried to eat the kids they belonged to. So the story goes that these dolls were released in 1996, and they were designed to make the doll look like they could eat. Plastic fries and various other fake foods were included, and kids could feed them and the doll would chew them. Sounds great, but unfortunately the doll couldn't tell the difference between a plastic fry and a kid's finger, and you know how much children love sticking their fingers in stuff. There were several complaints from parents of children with injured fingers. Kids would obviously stick their fingers in the doll's mouth. The doll would bite down, clamping so hard the kids couldn't always get their fingers out. There were a number of reports in the mid-90s of kids getting their fingers and other body parts stuck in the mouth of the devil dolls, and one girl even got an unwelcome haircut when the doll mulched up a significant proportion of her hair. Over 100 complaints were received, so the doll was recalled and $40 refunds were offered. To be honest, I'd rather have my finger than $40. Finally, coming into number 1, we have one of the most famous dolls of all time. Never touch her. It's Annabelle. On first viewing, I kind of thought that Annabelle, a Raggedy Ann doll, was pretty cute looking, but then when you realise that this is the doll behind the Annabelle movie franchise, all cute goes out of the window and is replaced with cold hard fear. For all her supposedly evil biddings, Annabelle is currently in a glass jail in the form of a sealed box at the Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut. The museum is run by Ed and Lorraine Warren, and they received the doll after it lived with a student nurse and her roommate in the 1970s. The doll behaved strangely, so the pair contacted a medium who suggested that she was haunted by a dead girl named Annabelle Higgins. The pair felt a great deal of empathy and tried to nurture and care for the girl, but it turned out she was a malicious and evil spirit, leading to the pair giving the doll away. It's a bit less stressful than the movie makes it sound, but nonetheless I really wouldn't fancy being the bearer of this plushy menace. There is a reason she's locked behind glass, because you should never touch this smiling devil. You just don't know what she could do to you. And I like it.